Did you ever think what it would be like traveling along in an open car without a windshield? Boy, you wouldn't go very far before you got all splattered with mud. And you'd have to keep your eyes closed so as not to be blinded by the dust. Well, when you're traveling along in life, Rangers, common sense acts as a pretty important windshield. It lets you see where you're going.
I am the greatest.
Did you ever think what it would be like traveling along in an open car without a windshield? Boy, you wouldn't go very far before you got all splattered with mud. And you'd have to keep your eyes closed so as not to be blinded by the dust. Well, when you're traveling along in life, Rangers, common sense acts as a pretty important windshield. It lets you see where you're going.
I am the greatest.
Welcome, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to Emin the Mass Media Group. My name is Umoya.
I am Kim with Emin the Mass Media Group.
And we have a wonderful guest today, and Mr. Tony Ray Harvey. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. This morning. Good morning to you, Kim. Good morning to you, Brother Amoy.
Morning.
All right. Thanks for joining. Darlene is actually going to be on hiatus today. She's going to be doing some canvassing, I think, right, Kim, today?
Actually, there's a reparations inspired fashion show taking place in the Bay Area today, and she's getting ready for that.
For the fashion. Okay, so they doing a reparations fashion show. Shout out to the Bay Area, Art Bay in the building. Appreciate you putting in that work on many levels. So today, we're actually going to be talking about the press release from the California Legislative Black Caucus, and see what that's about. It's very interesting. They rolled it out about a couple days ago, and we got to look into it. See if this is actually reparations or not. We don't know. So we're going to look at the press release, but we're also actually going put it into context too, as well as we go through this process. So sit back, get your popcorn and your libation or whatever you need to do. Hopefully, it will be an education for all of us as we go through this process. So let's, I guess, get to some housekeeping, shall we?
All right. Let's see.
All right, happy Black History Month. The first one, if you haven't signed up to our newsletter with the Email and Mass Media Group, please do so. You can go to etnmediagroupstore.com, or you can go to our website at etnmediagroup.com and sign up to our newsletter. We're sending out a Black History Month icon daily. And also we're posting these on social media, so on our YouTube page, also where else, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, etc. So please go support that. And also we'd like to give a shout out to our good brother Johnny Smith for donating to a Black History icon. So shout out to Johnny Smith, appreciate it. And if everybody would like to donate, we do have a Cash App somewhere. I don't even know where it's at. But you can find us on Cash. We'll find it somewhere. I don't even know. Anyway, just wanted to shout out to our Black History Month. There you go. Thank you. Wonderful Kim in the building. So if you would like to donate to this platform, what we're doing, we greatly appreciate that. Hit us up at the Cash App. So shout out to a good brother Johnny Smith in the building. Reparationsnow.com. That's reparationsnow.com. Get all access to reparationsnow.com.
Yes, and that's another way that you can support ETM Media Group with a monthly subscription and gain access to all behind-the-scenes footage. Reparations Now, the documentary theatrical release, is also available to view on Tubi TV. Another way to support ETM Media and to show your support for reparations here in California and nationwide is to go to the ETM Media merch store at etmmediamerch.com to get your Reparations Now gear and show your support.
Yeah, that's etnmediagroupstore.com, family. So appreciate that. You want to take this one?
Also, another way you can support doing what you love to do anyway, shopping on Amazon, is to use the ETM Media Amazon affiliate link before you do all of your Amazon shopping. And of course, there's the Reparations, the 2024 Reparations Manifestation Planner, also available on Amazon. So use that Amazon link to order the Reparations Manifestation Planner 2024 on Amazon.com.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe we could skip the 5 forms today. I know we usually go over that in the 4121.
All right. So we're ready to just get into it. We do have a lot of information to cover.
Yeah, let's get into it, family, today. So appreciate everyone for coming. So wanted to put things into context before we actually get into the press release. There's an article written by the Wall Street Journal in 2016 that it would take 228 years for Black families to amass wealth of white families. The 228 years, that's how long it would take for African Americans to accumulate the same amount of wealth whites have now if current policies remain in place, according to a new analyst from the Corporation for Enterprise Development and Institute for Policy Studies. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right. So in 2023, there was a new study done that was published by the Ohio Capital Journal. It says, still just a dream 60 years later, racial wealth disparities remain wide. In fact, if we keep going at the current rate, it will take American Black people now a whopping 500 years to catch up to their white neighbors. The report by the progressive groups, the Institute for Policy Studies, and the National Community Reinvestment Coalition says, for every dollar of white family income, African Americans had 58 cents in 1967, the report says. In 2021, African Americans had 62 cents to the white household's dollar. With this same rate of progress, it would take Black households 513 years to reach income parity with white households. All right, so I just wanted to put this thing into some context, right? When we start looking at this press release, in terms of income disparities and the wealth gap. So those are just two of the points and I guess news information that you can take a look at. For more information on that, you can actually read the whole article at the ohiocapitaljournal.com. Just go look it up. Just type in "Still Just a Dream" 6 years later, and you can actually read the full news information there at that site.
So basically, in a nutshell, the gap is growing, not lessening.
Absolutely. I mean, what was the first one done in 2016? Now is 224. I mean, that's what, 8 years later, if I'm correct. Yeah, basically.
Hustling backwards.
Hustling backwards. All right, so we also wanted to briefly talk about the Indian Affairs Bureau, which is the Bureau for Indian Affairs was created as part of the War Department in 1824 and transferred to the Department of the Interior when the latter was established in 1849. The mission of BIA is to fulfill its trust responsibilities and promote self-determination on behalf of federally recognized tribal governments, American Indians, and Alaska Natives. BIA provides services directly or through contracts, grants, or compacts to approximately 1.9 million American Indians and Alaska Natives, members of 573 federally recognized Indian tribes in the 48 contiguous United States and Alaska. All right, some of the departments that Indian Affairs supports is Energy and Minerals, Tribal Climate Resilience, Federal Acknowledgement, Facilities Management and Construction, Indian Gaming, Geospatial Support, Natural Resources, Justice Services, Social Services, Self-Determination, Safety and Risk Management, Transportation, and its own tribal government entity. All right, as well as workforce planning and coordination, economic development, irrigation, budget and performance, workforce development, power utilities, energy service center, courts of Indian offenses.
Sounds like a robust agency, robust with resources there.
Absolutely. All right, so just wanted to put this out there if people don't know, because I know that's been kind of going back and forth sometimes on the internet if Native Americans actually do pay taxes. So according to the Indian Affairs Bureau Department, let's see if this is the case. Yes, they pay the same taxes as other citizens with the following exceptions. So I guess in a way, this is a yes and no. Federal income taxes are not levied on income from trust lands held for them by the U.S. State income taxes are not paid on income earned on a federal Indian reservation. State sales taxes are not paid by Indians on transactions made on a federal Indian reservation. And local property taxes are not paid on reservation or trust land. What is the Snyder Act of 1921 and who does it apply to? The Snyder Act of 1921 authorizes Indian Affairs to operate programs for the benefit and assistance of American Indians and Alaska Natives throughout the United States. The act is one of several legislative reforms that was designed to improve the living conditions for American Indians on reservations and in government boarding schools. The Indian Citizenship Act of 1924, also known as the Snyder Act, was signed into law by President Calvin Coolidge in June 2, 1924, granting full citizenship to American Indians and Alaska Native Americans. Though the Fifth Amendment, passed in 1870, granted all U.S. citizens the right to vote regardless of race, it wasn't until the 1924 that the American Indians and Alaska Native Americans could enjoy the rights granted by this amendment. Today, Indian Affairs provides services directly or through contracts, grants, or compacts to a service population of approximately 2 million American Indians and Alaska Native people who are members of 574 federally recognized tribes in the 48 contiguous United States and Alaska. Indian Affairs programs support tribes and improve the quality of their life of their members and communities. So I wanted to briefly put that into context as we go through this process, because many of us who are, advocating for lineage-based reparations are asking for a Freedmen's Affairs Agency here in California and asking for cash reparations. So, Kim, if you don't mind doing the honors, we know we've read this, the Freedmen's Bureau, many a times, but we always need a refresher. So appreciate it.
Right. We can't touch on this information too many times. So the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands Report Group 105, also known as the Freedmen's Bureau, was established in the War Department by an act of Congress on March 3rd, 1865. The Bureau was responsible for the supervision and management of all matters relating to refugees and freedmen and lands abandoned or seized during the Civil War. Duties previously shared by military commanders and U.S. Treasury Department officials. In May 1865, President Andrew Johnson appointed Ma Gen Oliver Otis Howard as commissioner of the Freedmen's Bureau. Howard's headquarters were in Washington, D.C., but assistant commissioners, sub-assistant commissioners, and agents conducted the Bureau's daily operations in the former Confederate states and border states and the District of Columbia. Although the Bureau was not abolished until 1872, so we have from 1865 to 1872, the bulk of its work was conducted from June 1865 to December 1868, so 3 short years there. While a major part of the Bureau's early activities included the supervision of abandoned and confiscated property, its mission was to provide relief and help formerly enslaved people become self-sufficient. Bureau functions included issuing rations and clothing, operating hospitals and refugee camps, and supervising labor contracts between planters and free people. The Bureau also managed apprenticeship, disputes and complaints, assisted benevolent societies and establishment of schools, helped in legalizing marriages entered into during slavery, and provided transportation to refugees and free people who were attempting to reunite with their family or relocate to other parts of the country. As Congress extended the life of the Bureau, it added other duties such as assisting Black soldiers and sailors in obtaining back pay, bounty payments, and pensions. Because the Bureau's records contain a wide range of data about African American experience during slavery and Reconstruction, they are an invaluable source to historians, social scientists, and genealogists.
All right, thanks for that. Appreciate that, Kim. And it's just very interesting when we talk about the Freedmen's Bureau, and basically how it was discontinued.
Got
While
it.
we have our fellow Native American brothers and sisters still getting redress, right, for their harms. So we just wanted to put this once again in context and the tangibles that our Native American brothers and sisters are getting, and that we actually had agencies set up and bureaus set up for people who are coming out of enslavement. And as we know with Andrew Johnson, it got reneged on that agreement. So
Right. And
anyway,
as read in the passage, the agency did the bulk of its work from 1865 to 1868, which was only 3 short years of the majority of that infrastructure in place. And it was fully disbanded, what did it say, was it 1872? Yep. 1872.
Facts. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take this introduction here, and Tony, if you don't mind reading, we're going to go to the next slide. If you don't mind reading the next slide, brother, we'd appreciate it. So I'm going to take this one, and then we're going to go to the next slide, which goes into the 5 forms of reparations, brother. Sound good?
Sounds good. So you want me to read this introduction?
Yeah, so I'm going to read the introduction, and then if you don't mind taking the last slide, brother.
Got it.
Yeah, appreciate that. All right, introduction. This is from the California Reparations final report, task force report. So let's go. Chapter 14. The introduction. AB 3121 required the recommendations from the Reparations Task Force to comport with international standards of remedy for wrongs and injuries caused by the state, that include full reparations and special measures as understood by various relevant international protocols, laws, and findings. Therefore, this chapter lays out the international leg framework for reparations, created in December 2005 by the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, in adopted resolution 60/147. Going forward, the UNGA framework shall be referred to as the UN Principles on Reparation. In the UN Principles on Reparation, the UNGA held that any full and effective reparations scheme must include the following 5 forms of reparations. All right, next slide, please. I'll let you take this one, bro. Oh, you gotta you're on mute, brother.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
You hear me?
We can.
Yes. All right. Here we go. Okay. Those 5 areas are restitution, compensation, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and guarantees of non-repetition. And that was basically the backbone that was studied during the California Task Force Reparations panel for 2 years. Those principles are etched in stone. So while the UN principle of reparations are primarily based on the notion of state responsibility, negotiators are also reached a consensus that non-state actors are to be held responsible for their policies and practices, allowing victims to seek redress and reparations on the basis of legal liability and human solidarity, and not just on the basis of state responsibility. This can be found in the principles, which provides for equal and effective access to justice, irrespective of who may ultimately be the bearer of responsibility for the violation. Additionally, Principle 15 states, in cases where a person, a legal person, or other entity is found liable for reparations to a victim, such party should provide reparation to the victim or compensate the state if the state has already provided reparations for the victim. This means This means that the funding, among other remedies for reparations, may not only come from the state of California, but also from a non-state actors who help perpetuate hardship against enslaved people and their descendants.
Thank you, brother, for that. Appreciate that. So once again, we're laying out this evidence for those viewing, and please like, share, and subscribe if you are watching this content. Every time we give out this information, when we put together this information, this digestible information, please, it's free, to like, share, and subscribe. It's not that hard, so we greatly appreciate you doing that. But we definitely want to get into and touch into the press release. Now, should we go into the videos to the press conference first, or should we go into the press release? Kim, what do you want to do? Okay, I guess we're going into the press release.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the press release to see what we're dealing with here, and then we can see the videos from the presser that Senator Stephen Bradford had last week. Okay, so let's see. Today, the California Black Caucus, Legislative Black Caucus, announced the planned introduction of the 2024 Reparations Priority Bill package with the release of the Historic Reparations Task Force report last summer. The caucus has announced its first step in what will be a multi-year effort to implement the legislative recommendations of the report. Quote, while many only associate direct cash payments with reparations, the true meaning behind the word to repair involves much more. As laid out in the report, we need a comprehensive approach to dismantling the legacy of slavery and systemic racism, end quote, said Assemblywoman Lori D. Wilson, chair of the California Legislative Black Caucus. Quote, this year's legislative package tackles a wide range of issues from criminal justice reforms to property rights and education, civil rights, and food justice. The caucus is looking to make strides in the second half of this legislative session as we build towards righting the wrongs of California's past in future sessions. One of the most powerful aspects of the Reparations Task Force report was the detailed discussion on how laws in California were crafted to directly cause harm to its Black residents. The harm touched on every aspect of their lives, and many of those harms are still felt by Black Californians generations later. This is why the caucus' first step will be to introduce a resolution that recognizes the harms and subsequent bill that requests a formal apology by the governor and the legislature for the role that the state played in the human rights violation and crime against humanity on African slaves and their descendants, end quote. Quote, as a result of the historic study by the California Reparations Task Force on the negative impacts of Jim Crow style laws brought to California, the California Legislative Black Caucus, CLBC, will present its first set of bills based on the recommendations set forth by the task force final report. We will endeavor to right the wrongs committed against Black communities through laws, policies designed to restrict and alienate African Americans. These atrocities are found in education, access to home ownership, and to capital for small business startups, all of which contributed to the denial of generational wealth over hundreds of years, end quote, said Assemblymember Reginald Brian Jones Sawyer. Quote, as a member of the Reparations Task Force, I am proud of the 2-year study that resulted in 2 separate reports totaling over 1,600 pages. These reports contain the most comprehensive empirical data and historical evidence ever collected on the issue of chattel slavery. There is no doubt about the far-reaching negative impacts of bigoted laws born from the end of slavery in our country. All right, let's see what we got.
All right, you want me to take this one, Kim?
Yes.
All right.
Wait. This doesn't look like the proposals.
Yeah, this is in it.
Let me see.
Yeah, you got to switch the other one. Here, I'll put it up.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah, there you
go. All right.
All right, so let's go to the next slide. Hundreds of legislative and budgetary reparatory, golly, that word, reparatory. All right, budgetary reparatory recommendations were made within the final report, and I, along with the members of the Black Caucus, look forward to working with our legislative colleagues to achieve true reparations and justice for all Black Californians. I'm going to repeat that again. We're going to take our time. We're going to slow it down. We ain't going to rush. I know this is the internet, and I know we live in times of expediency and instant gratification, but sometimes we need to reiterate things so we really comprehend what people are saying and not rush it. Because I think some things are very important to repeat. Hundreds of legislative and budgetary reparatory recommendations were made within the final report, and I, along with the members of the Black Caucus, look forward to working with our legislative colleagues to achieve true reparations, true reparations and justice for all Black Californians. All right, so that's important, true reparations. What's the definition of true reparations, right? Secretary of State Dr. Shirley Weber responded to the release by saying, quote, as the author of AB 3121, I am pleased that the California Legislative Black Caucus has picked up the baton and is moving the state forward in addressing the recommendations delivered to them 7 months ago. I am optimistic and encouraged by the work and look forward to amazing and groundbreaking outcomes. The nation is waiting for us to lead, and as California always does, we will lead in addressing a delayed justice called reparations, end quote. That was from Dr. Shirley Weber, the Secretary of State of California. The following 14 measures have been or will be introduced from the noted authors with the full caucus as co-authors. This will represent the 2024 CLBC reparation priority bill package. For information on each measure, please reach out to the respective legislator's office. All right, so some of these actually have bill numbers already and some don't. But let's start at the top. Education. AB 1929 by McKenna. Expand access to career technical education by creating a competitive grant program to increase enrollment of descendants in STEM-related CTE program at the high school and college levels. AB, which doesn't have a bill number yet, McCarthy, career education financial aid for redlined communities. All right, Tony and Kim, should we comment or should we go through all the bills and then go back? It's up to you.
I would say just go through all of them and then we'll just go back and touch on them.
All right, sounds good. All right, civil rights, ACA 7. Jackson amends the California Constitution to allow the state to fund programs for the purpose of increasing the life expectancy. It's just one of those mornings, family. Please forgive me. Of improving educational outcomes for or lifting out of poverty specific groups. ACR 135. Weber formally recognizes and accepts responsibility for all of the harms and atrocities committed by representatives of the state who promoted, facilitated, enforced, and permitted the institution of chattel slavery. AB 1815 Weber prohibit discrimination based on natural and protective hairstyles in all competitive sports by extending the Crown Act to explicitly include competitive sports within California. Bradford, SB with no bill yet number. Property takings restore property taken during race-based uses of eminent domain to its original owners, or provide another effective remedy where appropriate, such as restitution or compensation. AB with no bill number yet, Jones-Sawyer issues a formal apology for human rights violations and crimes against humanity on African slaves and their descendants. Criminal Justice Reform, ACA 8, amend the California Constitution to prohibit involuntary servitude for incarcerated persons. AB 1986, Bryan, eliminate the CDCR practice of banning books without oversight and review. AB with no bill number yet, Jones-Sawyer, fund community-driven solutions to decrease community violence at the family, school, and neighborhood levels in African American communities by establishing a state-funded grant program. AB with no letter or legislation numbers yet. Mandela Act restricts solitary confinement within CDCR detention facilities. All right, I had to really reach for that one because it was kind of hard to see on the screen. Yeah, solitary confinement within CDCR detention facilities. All right, I think we have one more slide here. So yeah, guess I'll finish it off. Health, AB 1975, Bonta, make medically supportive food and nutrition interventions when deemed medically necessary by healthcare providers a permanent part of Medi-Cal benefits in California. SB with no legislated numbers yet, Smallwood Cuevas, address food injustice by requiring advance notification to community stakeholders prior to the closure of a grocery store in underserved or at-risk communities. Business, AB with no numbers yet, Gibson, eliminate barriers to licensure for people with criminal records. Expansion of AB 2138 to prioritize African American applicants seeking occupational licenses, especially those who are descendants. A press conference with full details of each proposal will occur after February's bill introduction deadline. A media advisory will be issued at least 48 hours in advance of the press conference. All right, so I guess let's start at the, I believe that was the second slide or second page.
You want me to start with the press conference before we touch on those?
Oh yeah, the press conference. Let's take
let's take a look at some of these videos,
and then we'll talk about it.
Talk about this.
There we go.
All right, let's roll some of these videos. All righty. All right, here's the first one.
That is what I believe my bills are about, and I'm introducing this year. 7 months ago, I began the work of developing this package. These policies have an impact that's needed right now to start the repair of some of the harms that were defined in this report. First off, as many know, last August I introduced SB 490, and that's just a framework this stand-up. The governmental entity that will help implement reparations. This bill will lay the foundation for what is to come by creating the California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency. This new state agency would be tasked with overseeing the implementation of any reparations policies passed by the legislature and approved by the governor, including determination of eligibility. One of the issues also deals with home ownership. I will introduce legislation to increase home ownership for the descendants of slavery. As we know, it's many individuals who have lived in the state, in this country, for over 150 years and have never owned property. This would involve down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, a mortgage assistance for existing homeowners, and possibly include homeowners insurance assistance as well. It's another bill that will deal with property tax relief for current homeowners living in historically redlined communities. These poor and largely minority areas where there was systemic denial of mortgages, insurance, and other financial services based largely on the race and their ethnicity. Also, racial motivated takings. During my 2 years serving on the Reparations Task Force, we documented the racially motivated takings of property across California.
Results after years of studying this issue and now you want to create a state agency. Are you concerned, though, that with the budget deficit that we have, that may hinder things or affect the results that you'd like to see?
Oh, without a doubt, the budget will impact what we do. But we've often said in California, the budget is a reflection of our priorities and a reflection of our values. If we say we value reparations and wanting to heal the harms of slavery in this country and in this state, we have to make this a priority. We have reserves that we can clearly designate a portion of those reserves. We can delay or defray the disbursement of those funds, but I think if it doesn't exist in the budget, it doesn't exist at all. So we have to have at least a placeholder in the budget for reparations.
Has the governor made any commitments to you that he'll do that?
He hasn't made any commitments to me, but he's made a clear commitment to the Legislative Black Caucus that he's going to work with us as we move forward on our policy package. I was probably in another meeting yesterday at the time, so probably wasn't available to be there. It's a lot of times that we have press events that all members are not available due to our schedule conflict.
And do you know that there are certain organizations, California, the California for a Just and Equitable California, Coalition of CJ, and NAASDLA, they had some concerns about direct payments for reparation that was not mentioned too. I just want to get your thoughts on that, because the 14 legislation that the CLBC rolled out yesterday, and I haven't read through yours. I'm not going to make a comment on that, but some people are concerned about the direct payment as well.
I mean, we're early in this. I mean, we would all love to see cash payments, but we got to be realistic about it. And I've tried to level set since I've been on the task force. Reparations was never about cash payments; it was about land, and that's what we're trying to assist, and that's what I'm trying to make possible for people to own land. That's how generational wealth has been passed on in this country, through land. Now, if there's an opportunity to provide individuals with cash payments, we would love to see that. That's why we had leading economists who worked with the task force and testified over the 2 years and stated clearly that the wealth gap between white families and African Americans is $370,000. So that would be the floor that I would start at. If we were to issue payments, I would say it would start at that number, but we're far from it. Again, it's 115 recommendations in this book, and like I said, we're just at the beginning. This will not happen overnight. So,
all right, Tony. So we know that you were there at the press conference with the California Black Media. Can you kind of give us a synopsis and summary of the press conference, brother? And thank you for doing that, man.
Yes. Well, first of all, thanks for showing those clippings from the videos that that I was able to get footage at the state capitol on February the 1st, which was the first day of Black History Month. And that day, what everyone had just seen was Senator Stephen Bradford, Democrat Gardena. He presented his package of reparation to legislation to implement reparations. So he did that the day after the California Legislative Black Caucus presented their 14 bills January 31st. That was presented in front of several Black media outlets on a Zoom call that I participated on January 31st. So they rolled out their package first, and the next day, Senator Bradford, as you can see in that shown in that video, he rolled out his. So technically, it's 14 legislations that was introduced by CLBC, California Legislative Black Caucus, and then another additional 4, really 3, was presented by Senator Bradford. So in total, it's 17 bills if you put them both together. As you know, you and Kim read through the presentation and the 14 bills that was presented by the caucus, specifically the chairperson, Lori Wilson, who led the discussion with the Black media outlets on the 31st about how they was going to roll out this package. So I was present for the Zoom call, and of course I went to the state capitol the next day, that morning, February 1st, to hear Senator Bradford's presentation. I think it was one of the things that kind of caught me off guard when the CLBC presented their legislation, the package of legislation. I didn't see SB 490, Senate Bill 490, which would create the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency. And say, so that kind of caught me off, and I was like, I think I told you, boy, I was like, we got an issue here. I don't know, where's SB 490, but Bradford was able to present that. Thank you for putting that slide up. Bradford was able to present that the following day. Now, this was one of the first pieces of legislation concerning reparation that was presented in August 2023 when we first started. Okay, and as we all know that this Freedmen Bureau, this version of a Freedmen Bureau agency, will facilitate all the activities that would surround reparations for the state of California. So yeah, I just thought that was kind of significant too. I just didn't want to think that they get lost into the conversation. Secondly, as you and Kim know, and a lot of other people know, direct cash payment is not mentioned in this set of packages, these 2 sets of packages. And that's been a big concern too. I know Brother Chris Logston, had put out a press release saying, quote unquote, that the packages that were put out, at least with CLBC, I think he was making a comment on CLBC package, that this is not reparations. Okay, well, of course, that is his opinion about the bills that was presented by several members of the CLBC. So we can go through all of them and talk about that. We can definitely talk about Senator Bradford bills. As a matter of fact, I'll start with the first one, as we already did, SB 490, which will establish the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency for the purpose of implementation, oversight, and monitoring of the policies and laws enacted related to reparation. That would be SB 490. Okay. The second bill, which was not assigned a number either, Senate Bill, blah, 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 will create the Homeowners Assistance for Descendants of Enslaved Persons Program to make available grants to descendants of enslaved persons in order to own a home. Okay. This is one of the bills that was a recommendation for the California Reparation Task Force final report. Okay, and the solution to this homeowners assistance for descendants of enslaved person program. It will rectify the harms caused by racially discriminatory housing practices and administrating grants and financial assistance for provable descendants of enslaved persons to own these homes. So, you know, a lot of this has to do with like redlining. You know, a lot of these people that right here in California, you know, when they were trying to buy homes, they were limited or restricted to certain areas, which were called redlining. They couldn't go and buy homes in the neighborhood of their choice. So that is the homeowners assistant descendant and enslaved person legislation presented by Senator Bradford. Okay. The next one that he presented, this is on day 2. Remember, this is February 1st. The property tax assistance to descendants of enslaved persons. Okay. This bill, which will be assigned a number sometime, you know, before February 16th, would establish property tax assistance for descendants of enslaved person program. The program will make, all right, yeah, this is another. The program will make grants available to persons who currently live in formerly redline neighborhoods in the state of descendants, in the state, and are descendants of persons of enslaved in the United States. So what he's saying is, if these people lived in these redline districts, whatever city or town that, you know, that they lived in, they were restricted to these areas. If you can prove that you lived in these areas, you might get some financial assistance for being redlined in these areas when you could buy homes in other places that you desire. So that is the property tax assistance for descendants of enslaved persons. Okay, I think this next one, which is the last one of this package, restitution of racially motivated takings. I think we all know what that is. Okay. This Senate bill would establish a process for the state of California to review and investigate public complaints from individuals who claim their property was taken without just compensation as a result of racially motivated eminent domain, and establish a process for providing compensation to those rightful owners. Okay, so we know places like what's that, Russell City, you know, which is in between Oakland and Hayward in the San Francisco Bay Area. That would also count for issues that we have up here in Kelowna, Gold Rush Country, which involve some black families that own property up there. Okay, if they can prove that, they have some type of compensation from there, because all of these things were done with the use of eminent domain. And matter of fact, city municipalities and the state were involved in some of these areas too. They used eminent domain to take over these people's property. Okay, and they paid them like pennies on the dollars when they did that too. So that is 4 legislation that will be presented by Stephen Bradford, and that's it. Also, is in addition to the 13, because one of the 14 recommendations that CLBC presented on January the 1st is a Senator Bradford bill too. So it's a total of 17 bills. And once again, direct cash payment is not spoken of. But the chairperson, Lori Wilson, Democrat, Sun Sioux City, she did say that, you know, and Bradford, you know, during this press conference, that there will be additional pieces of legislation that will be presented, you know, throughout the year. But right now they're trying to beat this deadline for February the 16th for this set of packages that they have on the table.
Thank you for providing that additional context. So, okay, so that's what you were asking him about in the presser there when you were saying, why weren't you there yesterday? So there was a another press advisory. You said that happened by Zoom, and all of the CLBC members were present except for Bradford. Is that what happened?
How did I know you was going to ask me that, Kim? Good question, though. Okay.
We've known each other a long time, Tony.
And you are a journalist. You live on Morning Post, so I understand. I understand the question. Well, first of all, remember there's 12 members of CLBC, California Legislative Black Caucus, and they're a mixture of assembly persons and Senate. And I think about 3 or 4 of the assembly members participated in the Zoom call on January 31st. January 31st, not all of them, okay? Because you'll see some names that are assigned to some of these bills, like Isaac Bryan, Tina McKenna from Southern California. Both of them are assembly members from Southern California. Mia Bonta, she was not there. That's Northern California. Alameda, Oakland. They were not there, but Wilson, Reggie Jones Sawyer, he was president, and Corey Jackson, assembly person, Corey Jackson, was from Moreno Valley, that's down in Southern California. They were present, and Dr. Akilah Weber, assembly person, Dr. Akilah Weber, who represent parts of San Diego, La Mesa specifically. She was in on the call.
Okay, well, to the best of you.
When I saw that SB 490 was not in the 14, not listed in the 14 piece of legislation in the first packet that that they had presented, I was kind of concerned why Senator Bradford was not there. So this is coming from me. I just have questions. We question authority. We question judgment, and of course we question powerful figures too. So that's just my job. I just want to know why Senator Bradford was not present during that Zoom call when one of the members from the California Reparations Task Force, who was there, Reggie Jones Sawyer, and he was not. Okay, and he indicated during the press conference that he had other commitments, engagements, meetings or whatever, so he was not there. Okay, now I understand he does support the CLBC's proposal. He stand by those as well as he stand by the ones that he has. So
okay, well,
I was just trying to figure out, Kim, where he was with that, because he was not present. So
yeah, that was a good question. Thank you for asking it. Now, did anybody in the presser on the 31st, did they ask about 490 or push back on the lack of cash payment at all?
Look, okay. At the time that we were talking to them that morning of the January 31st, they had just released the press release. They had just unveiled the press release as they was unveiling their package. Okay. So I'm in the meeting for about 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm not really they emailed us the package. I'm not able to go over it at that time to see what was in the package. Okay. I'm only getting bits and pieces that was conveyed to us through Lori Wilson, who's the chairperson of CLBC. Okay. So later on, I figured out, when I saw the press release, and I'm not seeing SB 490, I'm like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? I can only, we can't speculate or anything like that, but I just felt like maybe they missed out, or, to me, it just looked like a problem. Okay. So later on, that's why, the next day, of course, that Zoom meeting is already over. The next day, I was able to get it, Stephen Bradford, and ask him, what was going on with that. So, I don't want to read too much into it right now. I do know that, they're trying to make this all happen. Personally, just by reading through every one of these legislations, for both days, some just seem to me that there were regular bills anyway. Okay. Stephen Bradford bills are definitely recommendations from the 115 recommendations from the 115 recommendations that the task force had set forth on June 28, 2023. Okay, so his bills definitely derived from the report. Some of these bills that I'm seeing right here, that a couple of the Assembly people, members of, I should say, they had already been working on these bills anyway. So I guess, by reading Chris Lox's press release, maybe that's what he meant as this is not reparation, at least not in his eyes. Okay, definitely not with direct cash payments involved.
Yes. And another question I have for you, real quick, Tony. That document that you're reading from there, it sounds like you have a little bit of extended information on what Senator Stephen Bradford is proposing. Where did you get that documented? Is it available in the public domain anywhere?
This was given to us, as you can see right here, I have it on the screen. This was given to us at Stephen Bradford's news conference at the state capitol. And
does it actually say SB 490 on that document that you have there?
It has all four of the legislation that he's going to be pushing.
Because on the this might have been a truncated press release. I don't know if you can see the screen there, but it did not have SB 490 on there as one of his priorities that he would be speaking about. Well, like I said, it looks like you got an extended document. The only policies mentioned here were the home ownership assistance, which you have on your document, the property tax relief, the restitution for racially motivated takings and properties, and also what they put on this truncated press release that went out was budget allocation to fund reparations, which he did speak about in the presser. Like we saw in the clip, it doesn't exist if it's not in the budget, basically. But 490 is on your sheet. So.
Yes, 490 is on this sheet. It's on the second page of this press release that that was given to us on February 1st. So, but you got receipts. So that's why, I don't know how this was put together, how it was organized, or anything like that. But when you see some missing information, I have to call it out. So I still have questions on that too. Now, remember, Senator Bradford was kind enough to release SB 490 back in August of when we first, got wind of that, this will be the first piece of legislation that will be set forth, coming in February, and that was done almost two months after the final report was presented to the legislature. June 28, 2023. And we've been talking about that. I remember a couple articles on that. So we know that it's out there. Okay. Why it was not introduced in that initial press release about the news conference that was going to take place on January 31st. I can't speak on that. I can't speculate on it, but it's definitely a question for all of us. Why was it not done initially? So
right, and on the presser that happened on January 31st, where Bradford was not present, did 490 come up at all to the CLBC members that were present? Oh,
now
hold on. We missed that. We missed that. You were on mute. If you could.
Okay. No, it was not. It was not mentioned. January.
It wasn't mentioned at all. Okay.
At all. And understand, there were other reporters, publishers, editors that was on this call, so we were waiting for them to wrap up their Lori wrap up her presentation, and some of the assembly members making comments. That way we can have that Q&A session. We had limited time. I think we did it within 45 minutes to an hour. Of course, I had some other questions about communication. Y'all know how big I am on communication, and I want to know how involved that was going to be in the next go round. And Reggie Jones Sawyer said, well, they won't have the same constraints that the California Department of Justice had as far as pushing out communication for the task force meeting. So for these package of bills, that would be a different thing. Matter of fact, they already solidified a communication firm that will be handling, this process for communicating with the community. But 490, it did dawn onto me that it was not mentioned during the Zoom meeting. And when I read the press release out there, that it was not mentioned at all. Okay. It was not mentioned until the following day at Stephen Bradford's news conference. So, but here's the deal, because as you know, what Amoyo had read, one of the recommendations is a formal apology from the legislature and the state, and that's Reggie Jones Sawyer bill. Okay, I'm just looking at it that SB 490 and this apology is going to be pushed up to the top. Okay, as far as trying to push those through and make them law. Okay, because really nothing happens if SB 490 doesn't happen. Nothing happens. Nothing really happens. Okay, that's why the Freedmen Bureau Agency was created back after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. To facilitate getting these enslaved or former enslaved people situated. So this would be the same way too with SB 490, CAF, the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency. Okay, they will look over all of these type of activities, and they will be able to assess everything through headquarters stationed right here in Sacramento, and then several satellites across the states. So, if you have a claim for property, you will follow with CAFA. If you have a claim for DNA genealogy, you will go talk to a genealogy at CAFA. Okay, you were redlined it and couldn't buy a house in a certain area in the state or neighborhood, wherever, property, you would go through CAFA. So you understand what I'm saying, that SB 490 definitely has to go. Okay. I know the apology part is just what it is, a formal apology. Okay. I don't know how much of an impact that it would have on things, but I know with the issue with the Holocaust and people of Japanese descent here in California, all of those had some apology attached to it when they were going through these redress. So I'm sure that's what's going to happen with reparation, should that, shouldn't when that going to a fruition and stuff. So, but SB 490, that has to be at the top of the charts, without a doubt. And that's just listed, here on the screen. Okay, a genealogy office, a communication and media affairs office, data research and collection office, and a whole lot more.
And if I could just elaborate on that, and just by the way, I know we briefly touched on the Indian Affairs Bureau. They actually are supported with genealogy as well currently. So, for people that want to find out if they have any Native American ancestry, that bureau actually assists them with that. So I just wanted to put that out there for sure.
None of this is going to be easy, according to Senator Bradford, as far as, putting these things together. And I do want to emphasize the fact that Bradford and Reggie Jones Sawyer, who were a member of the 9-member task force panel, they'll be out of office at the end of this year. Okay, their tenure at the state capitol will end. Okay, because we have these time limits on them now. So I think they're both did like 12 years. They're done. Okay, so whatever happens with them and their bills, or don't happen, this is going to be a really important next 11, 12 months for them to see if they can get these things pushed through. Because if they don't, someone else will have to pick up the baton to push these, to push these bills through on their.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Brother.
Good. And not only that, what I'm seeing, leadership is going to have to be a big play. You did mention that too, Amoya, in one of our conversations. Leadership, within the CLBC is going to have to be at a premium, because one or two people will have to step out and say, hey, we got to get all these things done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Regardless of what's going on here. And you have to see what's going on with the direct cash payment, because right now I think it's kind of like mum's the word on direct cash payment because of the state budget.
Yep.
All right. We may be, well, Governor Gavin Newsom already presented his January budget proposal, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Okay. And what was also mentioned by the Legislative Analyst Office, that the state may be facing a $68 billion budget. That's coming from them. Okay. The LAO. Okay. Newsom's Department of Finance said, no. It's much lower than that. It's a $38 billion budget. Okay. So in regard to balancing the budget, you got to figure out what's going on with the deficit by June 2024, when the new budget has to be signed at the end of the month. All right. So we're up against, and I'm talking about reparations and direct cash payments, we're up against a deficit that's going to be an impact. But as Stephen Bradford said the other day, okay, reparations still should be a high priority. Everybody should know that. It still should be a high priority, okay, in every regard. Whether, we got these programs coming out here and moving towards, direct cash payments. So we'll see what happens though, but we're all up against, these deficits, or however it's going to be presented. And I think the next budget revision will be in May. So we'll hear, about those numbers again. Now understand the LAO, okay, it's just like a watchdog organization, entity for the state, okay? And they scour over budget policies and financial obligations that the state has. So that's
What
their
does
job.
LAO stand for?
The Legislative Analyst Office, which is located right here in California, Sacramento, California. Okay, they were the ones who presented. There were some other things going on. I won't get all into that. That the state is facing a $68 billion budget. Okay. Now I do also want to mention that the state controller, Malia Cohen, African American Black politician from San Francisco, she's the state controller. She said, whatever happens, California has enough in the reserve to cover any deficit that's out there. So that's coming from her.
All right, family. Well, as always, brother, we got to give you your flowers. So let's do this real quick. Brother, great reporting. Great work.
Yes, thank you, Tony, and California Black Media for being in these spaces and holding people accountable. Now, we have a question. Let's see.
Is this a comment question, Kim?
It's a comment question. Yeah.
Well, let's go to the comments at the end. I want to get through some of these undocumented slides. It'll probably take about another 5 minutes. I just want to go through this real quick, and then we'll get to the comments.
Oh, okay.
Cool. All right. So let's and the reason why, because we're talking about this budget deficit, right? But at the same time, there are undocumented immigrants that actually are getting some reprieve, right? And these, let's just face it, these aren't citizens of America. They aren't full residents here in California. I get it. They are contributing to the economy. However, they are not part of, the American society, and money is being allocated toward them. According to this document, it says Medi-Cal expansion aids 1.8 million undocumented immigrants. You can go find that information at calmatters.org. California will welcome the new year. California will welcome the new year by becoming the first state to offer health insurance for all undocumented immigrants. Starting January 1st, all undocumented immigrants, regardless of age, will qualify for Medi-Cal, California's version of the federal Medicaid program for people with low incomes. Previously, undocumented immigrants were not qualified to receive comprehensive health insurance, but were allowed to receive emergency and pregnancy-related services under Medi-Cal as long as they met eligibility requirements, including income limits and California residency in 2014. All right. This article does mention Biden announced his plan to expand healthcare coverage for DACA recipients, but we will not go into that. Let's continue. It says in 2015, undocumented children were able to join Medi-Cal under a bill signed by then Governor Jerry Brown. In 2019, Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law an expansion of full-scope Medi-Cal access to young adults ages 19 through 25, regardless of citizenship or immigration status. Access was then further expanded to allow older adults age 50 and older to receive full benefits, also regardless of immigration status. The final expansion going into effect January 1st will make approximately 700,000 undocumented residents between ages 26 and 49 eligible for full coverage, according to California State Senator Maria Elena Duranzo. All right. It says about 66% of California adults supported health care coverage. Okay, I guess this was, let me go back a little bit, put it into context. It looks like the Policy Center maybe they did a survey of some sort. Then according to the survey, it says about 66% of California adults supported health coverage for undocumented immigrants in March 2021, up from 54% in 2015, according to the survey by Public Policy Institute of California. I guess Donald Trump said something. We'll not go into that. Medi-Cal is already strained by serving 14.6 million Californians, more than a third of the state's population. Adding 764 more individuals to the system will certainly exacerbate current provider access problems. That was from the Senate Republican caucus said on January 2022 in that budget analysis. Here's another, looks like here's another news article on extending healthcare to undocumented individuals. And also, I just wanted to mention, here are some of the bills that were passed with people who are in this undocumented status. So let's go over some. Some are still pending and some actually did pass. If you want more information, please do a screenshot and you could do more information. I know we're running out of time here, so I just want to briefly go over these. Bill number SB 831, Agricultural Workers Immigration Parole. AB 278, High Schools Dream Resource Center Grant Program. AB 368, College and Career Access Pathway Partnerships. SB 142, Higher Education Trailer Bill. AB 120, Human Services, and AB 127, State Government. Something that's being introduced this year is AB 1840, California Dream for All Program, first-time home buyers. And then, as you can see below, some of them are status pending, and then actually some are the, I guess, comparative legislative bills. Like, for example, AB 127, which is an assembly bill, with SB 127, which is for this state, or for the Senate bill in the state government. So it looks like the AB 127 for the state government was actually passed. So I just wanted to briefly go over some of that information as well. Now, we may have talked about this bill that's been authored and introduced by Assembly Member Aseli, but let's briefly go over this bill. It says existing federal laws. This is actually bill number 1783 for reference. Existing federal law provides for the Medicare program, which is a public health insurance program for persons 65 years of age and older, and specify persons with disabilities who are 65 years of age. Existing law provides for the Medi-Cal program administered by the State Department of Health Care Services and under which qualified low-income individuals receive health care services. The Medi-Cal program is in part government and funded by federal Medicaid program provisions. So just to reiterate, the Medi-Cal program in part is governed and funded by federal dollars, right? So I just want to reiterate that. Existing law, the Knox-Knee Healthcare Service Plan Act of 1975, provides for the licensure and regulations of healthcare service plans by the Department of Managed Healthcare. Existing law provides for the regulation of health insurances by the Department of Insurance. This bill would state the intent of the legislature to enact legislation to remove all taxpayer funding for health care for illegal immigrants from the California state budget. On January 1st, 2024, California became the first state in the nation to provide universal health insurance to illegal immigrants. In total, this expansion to provide illegal immigrants universal health care is estimated to cost the California taxpayer $4 billion. California also began 2024 with a serious budget deficit of $68 million, which my good brother Antonio Ray Harvey mentioned. In 2024, covered California premiums increased by 9.6%. The Public Employees Retirement System increased premiums by 10.77%, and other health insurance providers notified policies of even higher rate increases. This is at a time when inflation continues to burden all Californians, with prices 19% higher than pre-pandemic levels. The legislature seeks to reprioritize limited taxpayer resources for California citizens in need rather than illegal immigrants who are citizens of a foreign nation. It is the intent of the legislature to enact legislation to remove all taxpayer funding for health care for illegal immigrants in the California state budget. This is currently may be heard in committee on February 3rd. So this has not gone through the legislation process or at a committee level. So that's currently the status of this bill. Briefly go over this article real quick. I think our good brother Chris Lodgson from CJEC was mentioned in a couple of these articles. As a matter of fact, before we go mention it, CJEC, Coalition for Just and Equitable California, was mentioned in the following publications, as you can see on your screen. Obviously, you know, CJEC may have been mentioned in other publications as well, but I just wanted to show that the good work that our Coalition for Just and Equitable team are doing. So in California, black lawmakers share a reparations plan with few direct payments. California Legislative Black Caucus released a state of reparations bills to implement ideas from the state's landmark task force on the issue. The proposals include potential compensation for property seized from black owners, but do not call for widespread direct cash payments to descendants of enslaved black people. All right, let's continue further down. So we already explained about Senator Stephen Bradford's press conference. I think our good brother Antonio Harvey explained that pretty well in detail. Let's go to what Chris Lodgson had to say. Says, but the 14 proposals are already drawing criticism from advocates who don't think that they go far enough. Chris Lodgson, an organizer with the Coalition for Just and Equitable California, which pushed to create the Reparations Task Force, said the proposals are, quote, not reparations, end quote. Not one person who is a descendant who is unhoused will be off the street from that list of proposals. Not one single mom who is struggling, who is a descendant, will be helped, he said. Not one dime of the debt that's owed is being repaid. California entered the Union as a free state in 1850, but in practice, it sanctioned slavery and approved policies and practices that thwarted black people from owning homes and starting businesses. Black communities were aggressively policed and their neighborhoods polluted, according to groundbreaking report released as part of the committee's work. Okay, so I wanted to put that in there with some context before we actually get into the comments, because I think, you know, as we move forward, I mean, it's important that even if some of those policies may be considered reparations, we have to think, how is this really going to impact the community, right? And not just about a politician's ideas or concepts of what they think is going to help the community. Like, we still live by the Constitution as we the people. And yeah, so I just want to put that in perspective. I'm sorry, Kim. Let's I just want to put that out there. I guess let's go to some of the comments, and then there's a few more slides I wanted to get through, but let's go to the comments, shall we?
All right. Well, the comment that I wanted to touch on when Tony was talking about being in these CLBC pressers about these proposals, our own Miss Darlene Crumity asked, Tony, do you know if SB 490 has the full backing from CLBC like the other 14? So we know that the CLBC is a grant on the 14 that we read through today. But were you able to get a read and maybe already answered this question? You said 490 really didn't come up. But do you know if any of the other CLBC members support SB 490?
Thank you, Darlene. Thank you for asking that question. At this point, I have no idea, because I as I explained that, you know, SB 490 was mentioned here and it was not mentioned there, you know, which kind of had me, you know, aroused my curiosity of, you know, what was going on. I have no idea. Okay. And this goes back, Darlene, to a conversation that Amoya and I had. Okay. The leadership is going to have to play a role in what's going to facilitate these discussions on these bills. All right. And I think if we go back 4 or 5 years, at least I started, I was aware of Assembly Bill 3121 in 2019, and that was the legislation by Dr. Shirley Weber, who was the assembly person then, created the California Task Force Reparation panel. Okay, a lot of people was involved in getting that piece of legislation done outside of the Capitol, and I mean the people from the community. So as far as leadership, okay, coming from the CLBC, it's also going to have to come from the community. Okay, these people are going to have to be in the room to voice their opinions about these bills that's been presented to make sure that they somehow get passed. All right, because as Amoya said, all right, it shouldn't just have to be according to your ideas of how these things, you know, should be rolled out. Okay, get these people who've been working on AB 3121 in there. Okay, such as yourself, Darlene. Okay, Kim, Amoya, Chris Lodson, Chad Brown, Friday Jones. Okay, Marcus Champion, Tiffany Quarles. You need to get in that room too and say, hey, you know, what's happening here? Because you shouldn't have to be on the other end figuring out, you know, what's going to happen with SB 490, and if everybody on the same page, because we need to get this done. This needs to get done. That's what it sounds like to me. Okay, so if you get these heavy hitters from these grassroots organizations, advocacy groups, things will get done. But they have to listen to the community before they can just, you know, go ahead and try to make all these things happen. Because I'm serious, you know, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the CLBC body. There's some great people, you know, from across the state. They have a lot of stuff to do. They have a lot of things to take care of. And plus, you know, they not only have to pay attention to the Black community and what's happening across the state, they have constituents that they have to answer to. Okay, but I'll mention again a couple of these bills that I already see. Okay, that I didn't really. I'm not saying that they're not part of reparations, but they were already going to be done anyway. Okay, so if you want to add it to the package, that's cool. All right, that's it. And it really didn't dawn on me until I was listening to, I was reading Chris Lobson's statement that, hey, this doesn't look like reparation to us. Okay, that's because like him and the rest of you, individuals, okay, beautiful black people were in the room when AB 31, AB 3121, excuse me, Assembly Bill 3121, authored by then Assembly woman Shirley Weber, was in the room, which this plan was, this bill, this law was being put together. Okay, were you in the room when this tax assistant? Okay, or
Yeah, not at all. And it's interesting you say that, Tony. Another comment, not so much a question, but a comment from Darlene. ACA 7, that's the Corey Jackson priority, was introduced by CLBC member Corey Jackson on February 16, 2023. So that is a bill that was already in play, that it looks like they just put it into the 14 priorities.
Yeah, we got to also understand too, right, that this is the CLBC. They came out saying these are our priorities. That's what they're saying. They're saying to the community and to the public, this is what's important to us. They're not coming out saying, look, this is what's important to the people, and let it go through that legislative process. And that's what we're looking for is, look, we the people would like for this to happen, and let it go through the legislative process. Let the legislative process, the due legislative process be, right? But they're not doing that. And so, and here's the receipts, right? I mean, we got other people here in America who are undocumented getting benefits, right? And I'm just going to put the elephant out there, right? That money's being allocated, right? That could go to American citizens, especially descendants who built this country, right? Going back to the Freedmen's Bureau, right? We got other groups who were able to continue their bureau, but ours didn't continue. So these are the harms that we're talking about. I don't know if the CLBC or not actually read the report. I don't know. We have to ask them, but they should read it. Everybody should read that 1,100 page plus report, right? And, shout out to CJEC for reading it. Let me see. Do we have Thursdays? Please go check out. I think we have the thing up here real quick. Go check out CJEC Official, the live report every Thursday. If you haven't had a chance to read the report, then every Thursday you can actually go to the YouTube channel at CJEC-Official, where they're actually reading the report. So at this point, there's really no excuse to put down these policies, because the California Reparations Task Force did an excellent job. They got great testimony and public feedback. And I got to give a shout out to the California DOJ too. They did an excellent job as best as they could, even with the, financial restraints that they were allocated, right? To put all this information to give to the legislators like the CLBC to present and package something that would be beneficial for the people. And obviously SB 490 and cash isn't important to them right now. And that's just is what it is. I'm not here to strategize. I'm not here. We are here to report and give people the information. So based on what they've said is important, this is what it is. Brother Tony, you were going to say something?
Yes. Thank you, Amoya. It's 115 recommendations in that report. I believe up to 115 recommendations in that report. So I'm looking for certain things like, SB 490. Okay, this tax assistance program, I know they talked about that too, in education. Those areas, because it was like what 5 harms that the economists came up with that affected, the Black community, the Black Californians the most. Okay, those are things that we need. I'm gonna say those are things that need to be focused upon by CLBC. Okay, and I'm saying that as a commentary. Was one of them with the Crown Act? Yeah, one of the assembly bills for this package was, the Crown Act. I'm just saying, I don't remember seeing that as one of the recommendations. Maybe it is. I'm not even saying that it's not even should be part of the package, but we're looking at a whole bunch of the things that came out of that report that could be touched upon. Now, I know they said, there will be other pieces of legislation that will be presented later on. Definitely looking forward, to that. But I'll say it one more time. Now, I'm going to keep saying it, okay? The people from the community need to be in that room talking to these lawmakers and letting them know what needs to be, what the requests need to be, what the demands need to be, okay, coming out of that report. Okay, that report was put together so you can move forward with these type of legislation. Am I right or am I wrong? Okay, so we have to. I'm saying they have to make all this, put all these things together to, to make sure that these things happen. Because here we are, on a Sunday morning, February 4th, 2024, and we still have questions about these packages just rolled out, a few days ago. All right, it upset a lot of people. Okay, there's a report out there that I read too that don't even make any sense about applauding. Oh, so and so applauded. Wait a minute. Did you cover the reparation task force for the last 2 years applauding? Okay, because I have another faction over here that says they're not agreeable about these packages that was rolled out. Why? Because we have questions. There's things that are missing. That's the one.
Absolutely. Even the headline is misleading. In California, Black lawmakers share a reparations plan with few direct cash payments. How about with 0 direct cash payments? Is what I see.
Kim. Can you say that one more time?
One more time.
California, Black lawmakers share a reparations plan with few, and I'm doing my air quotes, few direct cash payments. I didn't see any, but in fairness, I have not read through the language of each of these bills. I've only seen what's been shared in the press releases.
Well, I'll say it. We ain't seen no direct cash payments.
Straight fire. I don't understand. I know they have a bureau. I know the Washington Post have maybe a bureau or a writers here. I do know that, but I don't know, what was the narrative or what was the thinking in creating an article like that. But it just, Kim, you pointed out the headline is so misleading. Okay, there was another report too, where I'm talking about applauding all these, things. No. It wasn't a full story. Like they said, if you're gonna tell a story, tell the full story. Right. And that's not exactly what's happening here. Because if you look at and you talk to some of these people, especially the ones who've been following this thing for the last 5-6 years, okay, to help put together Assembly Bill 3121, they would say differently.
Absolutely, brother. Well, let's get through some of the. I got a few more slides that I want to show the family. Go through the comments, and man, this was a great session, Tony. As always, we appreciate you from coming through and bringing some context, and doing what you do, man, for the family, for the community, man. You're doing excellent work, brother. So I know we got the Super Bowl coming up, and I know many of us are going to be watching it. So stop fronting. I know y'all people talking about I don't watch no football, but
I'm going to a Super Bowl party.
Well, there you go. So you're going to be contributing to the wealth that's going to be created.
And canvassing.
Yes, you will. All right. So how much? Oh, okay. So you're going to be doing some reparations and some Super Bowl party at the same time, huh?
Absolutely.
All right. That's what we're talking about. How much money does the Super Bowl make? Well, let's see. According to a Zippia article, the Super Bowl makes around $6.65 million in ticket sales for the NFL, and that's just the tickets to the big game. Advertisers pay nearly $7 million to run a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl. In broad terms, the Super Bowl generates around $14 billion yearly in profits, though this number is not restricted to the NFL alone, but to the many companies that benefit from the Super Bowl. So once again, family, that is $14 billion yearly in profits. The TV rights alone for the Super Bowl cost large sums of money. Fox, CBS, and NBC all pay the NFL around $3 billion annually for the rights to broadcast their games, and the networks rotate which one will air the Super Bowl each year. All right, so if you want to 10, you got a little something in your backyard, or if you ain't got no backyard, maybe you got a money stash somewhere under your bed. I don't know. You could pay a little, $5,000, a ticket to go to the Super Bowl, maybe, or if you can afford a suite. It says here the year's Super Bowl is going to be held in Sin City for the first time at the beautiful Allegiant Stadium. Given the demand for the inaugural Vegas Super Bowl, we expect the Super Bowl ticket prices to be among the highest of all time. With that said, Super Bowl suite ticket prices will be the highest than ever. Early indications are that suite prices for Super Bowl 58 will range from, get this, $800,000 to $2 million for a suite. All right. So yeah, there you go, family. We're in inflation. We can't afford nothing. We can't pay y'all reparations. But yeah, we can definitely make $14 billion in one day. All right, and let's see what else is going on. Governor Kathy Hochul. Do you want to take this, Kim? And then we'll wrap it up.
All right, some of you guys may have already seen the news. I'll just go ahead and read this tweet from January the 29th. New York has secured over $183 million in compensation for Holocaust survivors and their heirs. Hate has no home in New York, and my administration is committed to uplifting survivors and their families while honoring the memory of the 6 million lives taken far too soon. So it looks like, New York, who just came out, they're just beginning their reparations study journey. Don't know when and if a study occurred to secure this $183 million in funding for Holocaust survivors, but that certainly is just what happened. So it seems like they can find money for stuff that is a priority.
Absolutely.
And take that how you will.
Take it how you will. Once again, if you're out on the interwebs, CJEC is mentioned in some of these articles, so go ahead, take a gander. And yeah, very proud of our CJEC family for standing what should be for the community, for the people. So definitely support CJEC anywhere, in any way that you can. Some of these were mentioned in NBC News, the Washington Post, Seattle Times, Essence, U.S. News, The Hill, the San Francisco Standard, the Reporter, etc., etc. Even in New York, the Spectrum one's in New York. So shout out to our good brothers and sisters. And if you do want to take some action, and if you do have something to say to the CLBC, the California Legislative Black Caucus, right here you can scan that barcode. Actually, I actually put in my comment to the CLBC by using this process. It's very easy. All you got to do is go through, scan that barcode. And as a matter of fact, let me see if I have the bit.ly link, and I'll put it in the chat. It's a very easy process to do so. But I think that's pretty much it. While I'm finding that, Tony, can you just Kind of give us your summary before we wrap it up.
Well, first of all, please pay attention to these reparation activities that's going on at the state capitol. They have a February 16th deadline to present these first set of package bills. And I know, there's some unanswered questions out there, but let's try to support this body. And I'm talking about the CLBC as much as possible so we can make these things happen. We do want to be the leaders in the country to make reparations, a reality. So let's please support them in that fashion. I know I'm going to try to do my best to keep my ears on the ground and try to make this information available to you. That's number one. And it is Black History Month. Also want to pay homage to a Negro baseball organization that was here in California. It was short-lived. It started in 1946, but it only lasted maybe one season, and that is the West Coast Negro Baseball Association. I saw the exhibit in the Oakland African American Museum last April, and I was really impressed with it, and I have been doing some research on it. There was about 6 teams. There was one in Oakland, there was one in San Francisco, there was one in LA. It was called the Los Angeles White Sox, to be exact. There was one in, I did say Fresno, San Diego and Fresno, they shared the same team. And there was a couple other teams located there. It only lasts one season. That was because when Jackie Robinson was made it to the major leagues, okay, a lot of these Negro baseball teams start breaking up because it started being an influx of players, Black players, going to the major leagues after that. So that, and plus that, it wasn't a big population of Black folks here on the West Coast back in the 1940s to support the league. Okay. Oh yeah, Seattle was one of the teams. Seattle Steelheads had a Negro baseball league team too. But I just want to make I'm big on sports anyway. That everybody's aware that there was once a Negro league here on the West Coast, specifically here in California. And if you want to look it up, go to the Oakland African American Museum online website, and all the information is there, pictures, just a little bit of artifacts. It would let you know what was going on at that time in 1946, 1947.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate
Love,
that.
Solidarity.
Peace and reparation. And who's gonna win the Super Bowl, bro?
Oh, you gonna put me on the spot, man. I'm gonna put it like this, man. I cannot stand Kansas City. Now, I am a Chicago Bears fan, true and true, diehard fan. My West Coast team is what is now the Las Vegas Raiders, but I don't think anybody right now can beat Patrick Mahomes, who's the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's where I'm placing my odds in right now to beat the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, there's other people, who would say differently about that, but that's my outcome. Tell you the truth, I'm not really interested in watching it, but I am going to watch that game.
Okay, what about you, Kim? Who you going for?
Just because I'm going to a party doesn't mean I know who's in the game. But no, it sounds like San Francisco's in it, so I usually stick with the West Coast allegiance. And Tony, you better than I am, because once the Raiders left town, they left my heart. They left my heart back in Oakland. I can't go for the Raiders no more.
That's hilarious. All right, so let's go through some of these comments real quick. Grand Rising fam, what's up, Nita? How you doing? Shout out to Nita, and her good work down there in SoCal. Appreciate you. And that's all right. We miss you this morning, family. Oh man, we always miss Miss Darlene, but she's doing great work. So shout out to Darlene. Guess that question was answered. Yes, if not compensation, hey, it's not reparations. Yes. Big digital hand clap for our brother Tony for doing outstanding work. Yeah, seriously, man.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Great work.
Thank you.
All right. Every descendant does not want a home. It's too late for some. Hey, I mean, look, Evanston's a great example, right? I mean, I'm not going to go too far in that. You can look it up, but you know,
That's not reparations. That's not reparations.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I can't get a house. I don't have a house and I can't repair. So how am I supposed to do this? And I think, Kim, you saw somewhere, read somewhere that actually they were trying to give some cash payments instead of housing.
Yes, it looks like they're trying to extend
restitution.
some of these future payouts to cash. So we'll see how that goes. Pay attention to what's going on in Evanston.
Definitely. These bills are other than SB 490 are not for the collective descendant community. Hairstyles? Question mark.
Yes, there's actually a bill in there for hairstyles. So
right. And my thing with that, with the hairstyle bills, if you're going to extend the Crown Act into some kind of further policy, I think that it needs to have some tangible benefit attached to it. For instance, the newly disaggregated state workers, maybe they could, use some time off, some PTO time, maybe a day, a quarter, to deal with their hair crown issues. So I'm calling them crown days, but we need something tangible to go with these bills. I mean, because discrimination shouldn't be taking place anyway. So thinking about writing some, proposal around that, a crown day where you get an extra day off a quarter to deal with your hair.
At one point as California, thank you for that, Kim. At one point as California resident, I was without health care and was basically told to kick rocks. I tell you one thing, yeah, I mean, if you're trying to get some health care here in California, I mean, man, good luck, bro. And customer service and whoo, Lord Jesus. All right, Jews, Indians, 9/11 descendants. Oh, okay. Assuming that's from 9/11 catastrophe. Sandy Hook, the Japanese got checks. Direct cash payments are reparations. All those 17 proposals, everyone will benefit. I call BS. What's up, family? Grateful Rider? Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. All right, especially Chapter 17 direct cash payments and Chapter 18 CAFA. Thank you, Darlene, as always, on top of it. Thank you, Tony. It's a team effort, absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. Kim. Oh, that's what she's talking about. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Yes, go support once again. You can do this. Share it with people, share it with your family. You can take action to let the CLBC know, and you don't even have to be in California. You can do this across the nation. As they say, so goes California, so goes the nation. It's discrimination, not reparations. Boom. All righty. If lawmakers can avoid granting direct payments to qualified Black Americans, they will. Money is power, and this country doesn't want Black people, especially, to have power. Case closed. Danette, great point. The question is why is this happening directly to us, right? I mean, that's a question that
that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show, and you already know the answer.
It's rhetorical. Yeah. There you go. Anti-Blackness. All right, family. So thank you for joining my esteemed colleague, Kim. Obviously, Antonio Ray Harvey is doing excellent work. Brother, if I can give you an Emmy, a Grammy, Tony, what is it? Peabody, a Nobel, what is that? The Nobel Peace Prize. Brother, I will give you all
the Pulitzer Prize?
Pulitzer Prize too, all that stuff.
Right on.
I will give that to you, brother, because like it's so important, man, when we're in these spaces, that we're actually asking questions for the community, right? And if we're not in these spaces, or if some of us are in these spaces, oftentimes those questions aren't asked. We're not perfect. Sometimes we are, as media people in these spaces, and sometimes we're not, and we're really underfunded, right? And that's another part of reparations too, which needs to be addressed, right? The underfunding of Black business, the underfunding of Black media, and we're actually working on another documentary from Blacklisted too as well. We're going to be talking about, just the harms that have happened even within Hollywood from us. So thank you, Danette, for joining, and thanks everyone for joining this broadcast. We really appreciate you. And you have the power to do something. You have the power to take action. You have the power to enlighten others. You have the power to educate yourself. We're here just to give you this information, but it's up to you to take action. So on that note, we really greatly appreciate you. You guys have a wonderful Sunday. Probably thinking about taking a hiatus next week. But when we come back, we'll probably actually dig a little deeper, because hopefully some of those bills will actually be in legislation. And I know, I get it. It's not going to be, most likely direct cash payments or the SB 490 like related bills. But we're here a platform, and we're here to give this information, regardless if we like it or not. So that's what we do, give you the information. All right, family, on that note, once again, peace and reparations, and we will see you next time, and happy Black History Month. Peace and reparations.
Did you ever think what it would be like traveling along in an open car without a windshield? Boy, you wouldn't go very far before you got all splattered with mud, and you'd have to keep your eyes closed so as not to be blinded by the dust. Well, when you're traveling along in life, Rangers, common sense acts as a pretty important windshield. It lets you see where you're going.
I am the greatest.